Welcome back. You're still watching Shape Your Life, the show that aims to teach you everything you need to know about health-related matters. In our next insert, we are joined by a young man who has been living with a retinal disease for more than 2 decades, but didn't allow his eyesight condition to stop him from living his dream. Anoop, thank you so much for taking time out of your medicine study diary and, sharing your story with us.
Pleasure, Ronald.
You had a concern with your vision at a young age. You got identified. What happened?
So when I was 6 years old, in primary school, the nurses came to do the annual health checks for the kids. And they picked up that I had visual difficulty. I was referred to an ophthalmologist and couple ophthalmologists, and they diagnosed me with Stargardt's disease, which basically translates to progressive central vision loss. So I went to a normal school and just lived a normal life.
Wow. But when you say Stargardt's disease and you say central vision loss, describe to me, how you see things.
So basically, for me, I see things the way I see things because I don't know what abnormal is because I was born with it. So based on what the literature says and, what I'm supposed to have, what I see is you have 2 fields of vision. You have outer vision and then you have central vision. So your more finer, acute, detailed vision is what I sometimes have difficulty with. And it's also dependent on the amount of light there is in the room or, time of day. And it's influenced by different things.
So when you were growing up, how was it playing sports and studying? Did reading for a long period of time, affect you physiologically, like with headaches or anything else of the sort?
So again, Ronald, I wouldn't know what affected me because for me that's my normal. So I went to a normal mainstream school and I played sports. I was part of the community cricket team and I still play some cricket with my elder brother. Nice. We go to the nets and knock a few balls around. But I mean, even reading was never an issue, even up to now. University, I finished my first degree quite all right, and then now I'm busy with my second degree.
You're so modest. Please tell us what the first one is and what you're currently studying.
So my first degree was a physiotherapy degree, which I completed in 2010. And then I worked for better half of my adult life, and then I decided that I needed to do a bit more. So I decided to apply for medicine, and now I'm in my 5th year of medicine.
Wow, that's absolutely amazing. I think, it shows that, no matter what you're faced with in life or dealt with, you deal with it. You persevere through all of these things. Yeah,
so I mean, it's, people always say, but now how are you coping and how are you doing these things? The thing is that you got to also look at what you want in life and just aim for it and go for it. I mean, where there's, as cheesy as it sounds, Ronald, where there's a will, there's a way. So if you believe it, you can do it.
So, Anoop, how important is living a healthy lifestyle, whether you have normal vision or living with a concern with one's vision and blindness?
Coming from a background of being a physiotherapist and also studying medicine, I always tell my patients as a physio and as a student doctor that, you got to live a very healthy lifestyle. And I have to practice what I preach because obviously I'm living with the Stargardt's disease. I have to make sure that I exercise regularly and eat healthy. That entails making sure that I eat a lot of my green veggies, and as I'm sure the green juicing trend has taken over a lot of the social media, so I'm also trying all of that now, and it's been going good. I've done a 21-kilometer marathon this year. I'm going to do another one in November, and I just keep pushing myself. So if you set the target, however you get to that target, that process will sort of give you the benefit that you need.
And the final question to you is this: when moving from A to B, how are you doing that?
So that's why I run.
Ah, now I understand. The six-pack is there somewhere. All right, I hear you.
No, so I used to drive back in about 2011. But my vision deteriorated where I had to sort of give up my driver's license. And then I had to find a way of becoming independent. So I employed a driver who sort of does the driving for me. And yeah.
I need to learn from you. Because you save so much productivity time while someone else is sitting in traffic. You can get so much done. Wow, man, thank you. You taught me something today and inspired me to do something proactive and to persevere through it, because where there's a will, as you said, there's a way. And thank you so much for your time. Get back to your studies and your prac work and helping the nation get healthy.
Cool, will do.
Retinal South Africa has been promoting awareness for the past 30 years. The organization teaches people about the importance of taking care of your eyes through research, support and other services. We are joined by Claudette, who has been with the organization since inception, and she gave us insights about the work that they do. Claudette, thank you so much for joining us on Shape Your Life.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my utter delight.
What does your association do?
Well, it's shaped my life because I've actually been a volunteer for Retinal South Africa since its inception 36 years ago. And what I came to the organization because there's this loss of vision, this retinal blindness in my family. And my younger brother and I were determined to do something about it. And we joined a very fledgling organization, and we've spent the last 35 years determined to find cures and treatments for retinal vision loss and to bring those treatments to South Africa.
I love the compassion because it's a personal story that has led you to stay on this journey and help people that are living and being diagnosed with these conditions that affect the eye and their eyesight. But beyond just, we'll get back to the context of the research and the studies that you're busy with, but how important is awareness of retinal conditions and eye conditions?
Well, it's terribly important because without awareness, people don't go to our specialists. Without awareness, the specialists won't refer them to us. Without awareness, we won't raise money. So awareness is crucial. It underpins all our work and what we need to attain. And what we want to do is we want to go out of business. We want to actually make sure that everybody who's got these untreatable, as yet untreatable eye conditions gets access to therapy so that we can actually go out of business. So that's our motto, is to actually work ourselves out of a job. And what we're trying to do, of course, is to make sure, especially the young people under the age of 35, is to register them with Retinal South Africa and to get a genetic test for them, to identify those who will be eligible for therapy trials and upcoming treatments.
So you've mentioned the word genetic quite a bit in our discussion thus far. Please give me more information about how that impacts one's eyesight and the concerns with the retina.
Well, the most common form of inheritance is what we call recessive inheritance. And this is the most common form of it, and it affects the most people in South Africa. So this is where the parents themselves are unaffected, and they each carry a single copy of a gene with a mutation, which is a mistake. And there are 10 million carriers in South Africa.
Wow. That's a scary stat. I mean, I'm taken aback by that.
Absolutely. And when two carriers marry, then you have a 25% chance that the child will inherit a gene with a mistake from both parents and the child will be affected. And these are families with no previous history of vision loss. So it comes out of the blue, and it can come as early as 6 years old and as late as 30 years old. Suddenly the child or the person, the young adult, starts having problems, and they go off to the ophthalmologist and they're told, your child has an incurable retinal condition, take them home and teach them Braille.
Wow. As blunt as that?
As blunt as that. And we were determined that we're not going to make people comfortable about going home and being blind and teaching them skills. We want to actually treat them and restore their vision. And the good news is, of course, is that clinical trials are right now, as we speak, restoring vision internationally. And we want to bring those clinical trials and the ensuing therapies to South Africa.
What do those ensuing therapies entail?
Gene therapy. We said genes. You said talk about genes. So what happens in a genetic mutation, you can get a good copy of the gene and using a virus, implant that gene into the virus, a good copy of the gene. replicate the virus and introduce that viral vector carrying that new whole genetic information into the retina. So that's gene therapy. And then there's stem cell work, which of course I'm sure you've heard about. Everybody knows about stem cells. They are super genes super cells that can become any cell in the body. And you can get those cells and encourage them to become retinal cells and then implant them. And that is also very encouraging. That therapy is looking really good. And then there's things, high-tech things like artificial retinas, which are restoring vision to people who've lost their vision completely. And there are many avenues in drug research and in photo switches. So the future is very bright for replacing cells, replacing vision, and restoring vision to young people. And the young people, and we estimate that there are probably 15 to 18,000 young people who've got this group of conditions, either central vision loss, which we call the Stargardt group, or what I've got, which is loss of peripheral vision, which is the retinitis pigmentosa group of conditions. But there is hope on the horizon.
That's amazing. I mean, I just sense a wonderful sense of positivity that you exude from this, because there's so many options available to you. And the Retina South Africa is bringing that down to us into grassroots level, hopefully to assist. But you need the support of the South African community, you know, especially on the corporate side.
Absolutely. And, you know, we do offer tax deductible for donations. We offer BEE certificates so people can help us. And the most important thing that we need to do now is to make sure that all our young people have a genetic result. So the National Research Foundation has gifted a machine, a next generation sequencing machine, to the University of Cape Town, and we work with them. But that machine is wonderful, but you've actually got to customize it now to look for the retinal genes. And that customization of that machine is going to cost us R1 million, and that's what we're hoping that every South African can help us by SMSing the word DREAM to 38267 and donate R10. And if we have 10 or 20 million people doing that, we'll get our R1 million. But of course, for the bigger donors, as I said, if they contact us, they can get benefits as well. And we do need everybody's support because everybody is at risk.
My last question to you is this. For those that have been diagnosed with the two common conditions that you described to me earlier, you know, or any eyesight condition that affects their vision, what hope do they have to live as normal life, whatever normal means to them as possible, from a career perspective, a family perspective, a social perspective?
I always say to parents who they bring their children and they counsel, and they say, well, what can we do career-wise? Do they have to now be switchboard operators or do, you know? And I say, let them follow their passion. Because if you let them do that, they'll find a way to make it work. I have very poor vision, and I'd like to invite you to see how much vision I don't have.
Wow.
That's about 12 degrees of vision. So I can read, but as you can see, my mobility is very bad, and I don't drive.
So I see, I don't even see my fingers when they're here.
That's right.
Only when they come.
So
it's literally tunneling the vision down for you.
Absolute tunnel vision. That's what I have. Wow. And I am the head of science for Retina South Africa. On the International Retina Association, I'm the vice president there, and I do counselling for patients. There's nothing that I can't do, except I don't drive and I don't fly aeroplanes.
But you're helping those that need the help.
You know,
and
there's
support.
so much technology, there's so much assistive devices, there's computer programs that talk to you, there's mobility assistance. The sky's the limit, and the only thing that's actually limiting you is your own tenacity, your own desire to succeed. And we're there to help patients and parents to help their children to succeed, to aspire to the best that they can be.
Oh, Claudette, thank you so much. I think part of your CV should be motivational speaking, because you have just done that to me and our viewers. Thank you so much for your time and joining us on Shape Your Life.
Thank you, Ronald.
We spent some time with ophthalmologist Dr. Timbo from the Soweto Day Hospital to learn more about retinal diseases and what you can do to look after your eye health. Dr. Timbo, thank you so much for joining us on Shape Your Life.
Thank you.
What are the common retina diseases or conditions that people suffer from that affect their vision?
There's quite a myriad of causes of that. I'll just go through just a quick list, but then I'll come back to the more commoner causes. Maybe in our context, let me start by mentioning endocrine causes, metabolic causes, the important one being diabetes mellitus, vascular causes, the important one being hypertension. You can have trauma, which can also lead to retinal diseases. There can be degenerative conditions like age-related macular degeneration. There can also be inheritable conditions like Stargardt disease, Bett's disease, and retinitis pigmentosa. There can also be tumors, surprisingly, which can occur in the retina. They are either primaries or secondaries. The primaries is a disease that starts in the eye itself, like retinoblastoma, and the secondaries would be a tumor in the lung, in the breast, in the liver, in the skin. It can actually, through the bloodstream, go through into the retina. And then there are a whole lot of other, maybe smaller causes that we have. Infections are very, very important. In our context, we've got HIV, the commonest disease that we see associated with that can cause retinal disease is TB. It's syphilis. It is cytomegalovirus. So that basically is a nutshell of the common conditions that we see. So in South Africa, we're dealing a lot with diabetes mellitus, we're dealing a lot with hypertension, we're dealing a lot with infections like TB, cytomegalovirus, and HIV, as I mentioned.
That's actually amazing that, I mean, you mentioned diabetes mellitus and of course hypertension. And those are diseases of lifestyle that impact on your retina and your vision. Please unpack those two for me.
Look, it's very, very important to realize that we underrate the morbidity or the amount of disease that diabetes can cause in the eye. Not only does it cause problems in the retina, but in the lens itself. The commonest cause of cataract in our age group, in the middle age group, is actually diabetes, as opposed to in the older age group where it's age related. So diabetes, the important factors to remember: the longer your sugar stays high, the longer the duration of the disease you've had, and the worse you're controlling your diabetes. Those are the important factors that lead to what we call diabetic retinopathy. And it can be very, very vicious. Sometimes it's very, very slow and subtle. But what is very, very important is that everyone who's got diabetes should actually see their healthcare worker, particularly an optometrist or an ophthalmologist, at least once a year, to be able to do screening, because there can be bleeding, there can be vascular problems, there can be formation of exudates, there can even be retinal detachment that is associated with diabetes.
With a whole myriad of potential concerns and risk factors associated with the retina, are there any standardized or fairly, simple conditions that we should be aware of, or symptoms rather, that we should be aware of to say, if you identify maybe blurry vision or something of the sort, go and see your specialist right now to go and have it examined and evaluated?
All right, there are quite a few things that we've got to look after. Firstly, somebody can just report that they've got what we call flashes and floaters. Those are important to report to your ophthalmologist. The second thing that can happen is that a person can report that they've got decreased vision, and it can be either sectoral, maybe just at the top part of the eye or field, or at the bottom. It becomes very, very important that you do not neglect those. And then you can also have total loss of vision, and that would be very, very important to report to your eye care worker. Surprisingly enough, not that many of retinal diseases present with pain. So that if you do not have pain, do not take things lightly. If you've got any of those symptoms, then you need to go and see your doctor.
What are the treatment options available for retinal diseases and conditions?
All right, it depends on the cause. Firstly, if you've got an infection, the infection has to be treated. We've spoken about HIV, we've spoken about TB, we've spoken about cytomegalovirus. So those, you've got to see a doctor and appropriate treatment has got to be given. Lifestyle diseases, it's always essential that you go to your physician and that they control your sugar properly and that your hypertension is seen properly. The other conditions that I've mentioned, it will depend on the specifics of the case, what needs to be done. Diabetes, for instance, there are a lot of interventions that we do, including cataract removal, including laser treatment, including a vitrectomy operation, and quite a myriad of other conditions that we can give.
Doctor, thank you so much for your time. I can see you in your scrubs and back to surgery you go, and we really appreciate your expertise and your passion for what you do and for enlightening us. And I must say that, your words have rung true to me. I'm one that wears glasses often, more often than not, so I really want to schedule time into your diary to come and see you, to show our viewers that proof is in the pudding. We don't just share the knowledge, we have to also practice what we preach. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Don't take your eyes for granted, so eat healthy, exercise, stay out of the sun, and go for your annual eye screening. And don't forget that you can keep in touch with us by sending an email to shapeyourlife@ann7.com with all your health-related queries or topics you'd like seeing being discussed on the show. From me, Ronald Abaji, and the Shape Your Life team, see you next week.